Gentlemen, let's resume this session of the 65th Phi Kappa Tau Convention. Before I resume, I'm just going to see, do we have any timely announcements? Anybody have anything? Brother Toby, for what purpose do you rise?
I have a delegate warning.
Okay.
I have a warning for all of the delegates and attendees here. You can thank me later. Bill Brash is attending this conference. Have an exit strategy. Have an exit strategy, because 40, 50, 60, an hour and a half into the conversation, you can thank me later.
Is that all you have? Do you have any bolos left?
I have a threat for the delegates and attendees in this room. I make bolo ties. I buy them, I glue them together with love to give them away here. And I used to bring, 50, 60, and I got tired of attendees walking up and saying, what do I gotta do to get a bolo tie? Don't you love me? So last year I made enough for everybody. This year I made enough for everyone here. And this former CEO at least had one good idea during his tenure. He said, instead of just giving, why don't you get $10 for me? Just give the money to Serious Fund. So that's what I do. So if you don't have your bolo tie, come see me. If you don't have the $10 or don't think it's worth $10, don't pay me, because nobody from Serious Fund camps has called and said, Toby, where's that donation? 1,000 kids are not going to be able to have their fun week without your donation. So it's just a donation to them. Now, if those bolo ties are gone, it ends here. You will not be pursued. If those bolo ties, it just ends here. But if I have some left, you will be pursued. You will be found. I have a particular set of skills that I've learned over a long time being in the sales training business, a manager and a member of this fraternity. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you.
Thank you for the filibuster, Brother Toby. I think that's sufficient.
Just one moment. Just one more thing. So if they're not gone, I'm going to give that back to Bill Brash. He will pursue you. He will find you. And after an hour and a half, he will pay any amount of money for whatever he wants to get rid of it. Thank you.
Thank you for your brevity. All right, guys, here's where we're at. We're going to have a quorum check with the clickers. Logan, can you put that up and get that in process? Thank you, sir. All right, open the ballot so that everybody click. Everybody finished clicking? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let the machine record the vote. How many? Okay, at 101, we needed 57. We do have a quorum. Thank you. Now, let me explain where we are. So, as you remember, we left off with the foundation report. We did not take any questions or comments. We will do that. So, I want to let you know two things. We have got to go hard, as the old song, Jerry Reed song goes. We got a long way to go and a short time to get there. So, what are we going to do? We're going to move the pool party to 8:30. We're working on seeing if we can do that. And we're going to go hard as long as we can. So, after we accept questions, comments on the foundation report, we're going to go next officers report, domain directors, then scholarship report, ritual report, delegates requests, and then we'll get to resolutions. So that's what's up on deck. If you can bring up the earlier session where we left off, Logan, everybody can sort of see where we were. So we're running over into session 3 with some session 2 activities. Now, I'll open up any questions or comments for the foundation report. Entertain motion a second. Somebody come up to approve the report. Motion for, and then a second. Brother Lewis.
J.J. Lewis, Gamma Lambda, Central Michigan University, move to approve foundation report.
Thank you. It's been moved. Gentleman's coming up for a second. I'll state your name and chapter.
Matthew Mullins, Epsilon Epsilon, William Patterson, University of New Jersey. I second the motion.
Gentleman from New Jersey seconds motion. Any further discussion? I see none. All those for, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we will have Sasha Konvesky come up, stay down there, but give the domain director's report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brother Chairman. Sasha Konevsky, Epsilon Kappa, Rutgers University. I'm currently serving as the Capital Domain Director, and I'm here to deliver the report. I'd like to acknowledge my other domain directors here, and those that could make it. They are Aaron Hawkins, Alex Johansson, Andy Fruth, J.J. Lewis, Jory Hamilton, Marty Schindel, and Phil Frantina. If you could give them a round of applause, please, for all their work. Thank you. The Domain Director Program is in a state of transition currently. We've met with new Chief Executive Officer Matt Arnold and Drake Berlin about 2 weeks ago. We will meet again to discuss the program and the changes that we want to see to it. For those of you that do not know, the program changed around 5 years ago, where we had up to 28 domain directors. They were all released from their duties, and we had to reapply for 9 positions that were used per the regional conference model. Just to give you some semblance of the regions that we cover, me personally, I am the Capital Domain Director, so my region is New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware. That is 23 chapters, 8 active, and the rest are inactive. And our charge was to set up graduate councils for each of those chapters. We have been operating under such this program for a while, and to be completely honest and transparent, it is not working, which is why we want to see the changes made. We have been paralyzed for about 2 years because of the leadership changes, and we hope to see the program change for the better, as the domain directors have been a longstanding volunteer service for the fraternity for many years and do good work. That is the end of my report, and I ask for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the domain directors? Mr. Committee Chairman, I will say I know the sentiment of the National Council has been to expand this program back again and reform it to its former glory and responsibilities. I think we lost something. I think the sentiment of the council that we lost something when the domain director program was produced.
Yes, we completely agree.
Mr. Chairman,
For what purpose does the gentleman rise?
Mark Scher, Rider University, Delta Psi. I wanted to ask a question about the revision of the domain program, not in its entirety, because we're trying to push through for now an 8:30 pool party. But my question to you is your plan to bring it back to the way it was, or is it going to be modified from there somewhat? You don't have to go into a lot of detail. I'm just kind of curious on what your plans are, because that is definitely a piece that we are missing, and we're missing dearly.
Everything is up in the air right now. We want to give Matt a chance to reevaluate the program and take our input in it. So we recommend that we go back to some semblance of that program, but it doesn't have to be that. And the function of domain directors may change. Everything is in discussion right now. It's in a state of transition. So we don't have nothing's been solidified. We have an upcoming meeting again to discuss the further points, and we will continue to work and make announcements as we see fit.
Thank you very much.
Any further inquiries? Well, first of all, I think we should give a hand to our domain directors who are very committed. Motion to accept the report. Brother Mounts is coming up, or somebody.
John Mounts, Penn State University, Omicron chapter, so moved.
Thank you, Brother Mounts.
Michael French, Bayview, Kent State, second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the report. Any further discussion? All those for, please signify by saying aye. All against, ayes have it. Next, the esteemed scholarship report from Mal Pacheco and our UAB chairman, Scott Siegel. Come on down. Assume the position, Scott.
Scott Siegel, Alpha Tau Chapter, Cornell University. We are currently in the process of moving through 2 statute changes from the scholarship committee. First of all, thank you to everyone who has taken part of coming to our meetings. So far, the 2 changes, the first one addresses the word scholarship, which many people interpret to mean.
No, you're doing great. Keep
Okay. On a roll. The first addresses the word scholarship. People think that addresses scholarships as in money, when we are hoping to change it to the word academic. So as simple as changing the term itself brings it more in line with what our purpose is. The second statute change has to do with changing the grade point average requirements and some other requirements for our undergraduate chapters. The goal is that we want to set the bar high so we can compete with other fraternities and on our campuses to be the academic leaders that we know that we are. So currently, we believe that the bar is lower than other fraternities, than the IFC national as a whole, and we want to set that high bar because we are a top-tier fraternity organization, and we deserve to have those goals. So we are raising it up to that level. Anything else to add now?
Anything to add, Mal?
Yes, Mal Pacheco, new chapter, University of California, Berkeley. Just 2 quick studies. One of them talks about when you raise the bar, people try, at least attempt to make it if they don't pass it. And that's one of the goals that we're trying to do here. Second of all, people do better when they know that you care. And the second part of our committee is to figure out ways that we can help those people that need additional attention to get better grades. Last time we had a convention, there was no scholarship committee. We need to focus more on academics and how we can help you succeed so that you graduate, get a great job, and then write a check back to us.
So all in that, those have been referred to the chair, I believe, in the process of being referred to.
To the jurisprudence.
Thank you, to jurisprudence. In the afternoon session and over the next day, we're going to be looking, and if anyone has any ideas, please approach us or someone else on scholarship about best practices in your chapters for raising your GPAs, raising your scholarship standards. We've already solicited some, but would love to hear that and come back hopefully tomorrow morning with some of those ideas for you to take back to your chapters. So all in all, productive day so far.
Thank you. Any questions? Have a motion to accept the report and then a second. Mr. Ward.
Chad Warwick, Alpha Phi University of Akron, so moved.
Thank you. We have a second, Mr. Bailey.
Ricky Bailey, Beta Iota, Florida State University, a second.
Thank you, Brother Bailey. Any further discussion? All those for report, approval of the report, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, gentlemen. Next, with our ritual report, the Honorable Chaplain David Lipinski from Penn State and Dane Westfall. Come on down.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. David Lipinski, Omicron Chapter, Penn State University. I call this a preliminary report because we may get requests for questions or something else there, but we've not received any direct questions about ritual that take any action necessary by the national fraternity. But to bring you up to what's happening in the future, we'll have our memorial service tomorrow morning as part of the session. Since most of you have not been to one of our national events, the memorial service will be done here in this room, and we'll read a roster of the number of people from each chapter that's been deceased since the last time we gathered. And as part of that, we'll have some greenery or some carnations. So if I call out Alpha Chapter 10, we would ask a brother from Alpha to come forward and place a wreath on a table. If there's nobody here from a chapter, we'll do that on their roll until we've done that. And at the end, we'll give you the total of the number of people brothers we've said goodbye to. Omicron lost another one just 2 weeks ago, so it's a number that just comes and goes, but such be our life. The next thing will be our ritual, which will occur tomorrow afternoon. It will be an actual ritual. A person will be initiated. If you're interested in helping with the ritual on the team or preparing the room, I would ask you to join he and I up here at this front table when you have adjourned from this session. And we'll get the volunteers together in that. If you're going to volunteer to assist with ritual, know that you will need to be in the room. We're going to be having it where you have lunch no later than 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, because we will have a rehearsal and be ready for it. For the rest of the brothers coming, and I strongly encourage you to attend, you will have to exchange our fraternity grip to get in the room. We're going to do more of a simplified manner, so if you need refresher courses, see me later, and I'll show you the right way to do it. The ritual will occur, and then we'll have immediately afterwards a post-ritual explanation, which we're going to utilize the AV in the room for that. Direction to Matt. We have associates in the room. They can't come to initiation. Is there an actual program set up for them? And if so, I didn't see it on there. So if you're an associate, you will not be permitted to come in for either that or the post-ritual.
Hang out with the CEO.
Okay. The last part of the ritual we'll have will be at the end of the night, which is our candlelight service, which I believe Brother Charlie Ball will be leading. And again, for those of you who have not been to one of our sessions here, it is a very emotional time as we gather as a brotherhood there. So that's basically where we're at that point. And again, I'd like everybody to come back up who wants to be involved at the close of this session. Not at if we take a recess or anything, no. When the session is completely over, it'll take us about 10 or 15 minutes. With that, I will end my report and answer any questions I can in public forum.
Dane, do you have anything to add? You gotta add something. All right. Just glad to be here. Thank you. We're glad you're here too, Dan. All right, any questions? I will say to the undergrads, if you have never been to the Ludlow initiation, it is simply fantastic. It is the way it's supposed to be done. In a lot of cases, it's probably going to look different than what you may have seen. So I want to encourage y'all to go and learn to do it by the book. It is a great experience, So do I have a motion to?
Contact me, I'll make sure it gets directed to somebody else.
Okay, just want to make sure everybody has that information and regalia and all that stuff.
I've ordered them in sets of 10, probably. All right.
I was asked a question, which I need a response from up here. The memorial service, will that be done at the beginning of the morning session?
I think that's where we got it scheduled.
Okay, well, no, that's fine. I was asked that question, and I know it's in the morning session, but I just wanted to be able to get an answer. We normally do it at the very beginning of the session. Okay, that's fine. So it'll be at the very beginning. Get your coffee, get your food, get in your seat. You should be here, brothers and associates.
You have a motion to accept the ritual report. Favorable report.
Jack Palmer, Epsilon Delta, Virginia Wesleyan University. Motion to accept.
Do you have a second?
Christopher Noy, Phi Chapter, Bethany College, West Virginia. Second.
Thank you. It's been motion accepted to accept the ritual report. All those for, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we have the committee report, delegates requests, Andrew Fruth and Justin Tardy. Come on down. Justin Tardy, the other gentleman, the young gentleman from Georgia. Mandy, y'all had all day to get coordinated, so get it right. All right, go ahead, Justin.
All right, sorry, it's kind of low. Justin Tardy, Beta Z, University of Georgia. The delegates have received no requests, or have not requested anything of us yet, so if you have anything, any charges you'd like to bring to us, please feel free to do so. We're not too scared. You can talk to us.
All right.
And I would like to motion to accept the delegates' request committee report.
I will allow you to motion to accept your own report for brevity purposes. Do we have a second? I will allow you to second your own report.
Motion second.
All those for, please signify by saying aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Now, the time has come. Everything you've been waiting for. It's here. It's resolution time, right? And with that, we have our resolution chair and co-chair, Chad Warwick and Nathaniel Grieve. Come on down. Thank you.
And the rest of it.
And Chad, are we going to receive these in a list, or are we going
They'll be on
one
the
by
screen.
one?
One by one.
Okay.
I can go ahead and get us kicked off. Chad Warwick, Alpha University of Akron. This first resolution is to commend the following chapters of Phi Kappa fraternity for the recruitment net growth over 20% from 21 to 23. Whereas recruitment is the lifeblood of any fraternity, and whereas a successful recruitment and retention effort result in a stronger chapter on every level of fraternity operations and standing on our respective campuses, and whereas these chapters embrace creativity, planning and execution, and strong membership orientation programs for retention is achieving a minimum 20% growth from 2021 to 2023. University of Delaware, 34 to 72 members. University of Mississippi, 68 to 111 members. Cal State Long Beach, 18 to 46 members. University of Idaho, 33 to 46 members. Penn State University, 40 members to 58. University of Maryland, 41 to 59. Cornell University, 44 to 58. University of Cincinnati, 13 to 30. Westminster College, 13 to 31. Cal Poly Pomona, 37 to 50. Eastern Kentucky University, 20 to 31. Now be it therefore resolved that the National Convention body hereby salute and commend their efforts.
Thank you. So are you looking for a second and approval?
Yes.
All right. The reading is the motion. We need a second for approval, and then we'll vote on it.
Eric Lenz, Upsilon Chapter, Nebraska Wesleyan University. I second.
Have a second. Any further discussion? All those for this resolution, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Next resolution.
Eric Hummel, Alpha Epsilon, Kansas State University. The resolution's commending Alpha Rho Chapter, Georgia Tech, for planning and hosting the 2023 Southeast Regional Conference. Whereas the Alpha Rho Chapter and Board of Governors took it upon themselves to plan, organize, fund, and execute an all-volunteer regional leadership conference April 14th 15th of 2023 at their chapter house and on the campus of Georgia Tech. And whereas the conference featured peer presenters from chapters in the regions who executed successfully and admirably their respective chapter operations sessions they taught. And whereas the conference also featured Phi Kappa Tau alumni subject area experts from other chapters in the region. And whereas the conference included fun and Phi as programming for the attendees, great food and handouts and materials. And whereas the conference was attended by 74 undergraduates and 8 alumni from 10 chapters and several guests and attendees got to hear Dr. Anthony Bradley, author of the book Heroic Fraternities, How Men Can Save Universities and America, and chapter president Patrick Huntington and vice president of alumni relations Nathaniel Grieve, along with their Alpha Rho brothers, spent countless hours preparing and organizing the conference. Now be it therefore resolved that the National Convention body hereby salute and commend their efforts and urge that this conference be a model for other regional conferences.
Do we have a second?
Eric Lenz, Upsilon Chapter, Nebraska Wesleyan University. I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those for the resolution, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Next resolution.
Brother President, I have a resolution for you. Nathaniel Greavy, Alpha Rho Chapter, Georgia Tech. This one is in regards to the Columns fundraising and group support. The resolution states that praise for the Columns fundraising group's support in the CEO hiring process of Phi Kappa Tau. Whereas the Columns fundraising group has provided invaluable support and guidance to the CEO hiring committee of Phi Kappa Tau throughout the search and selection process. And whereas the expertise and assistance provided by the Columns fundraising group have greatly contributed to the success of the CEO hiring process. And whereas the Columns fundraising group demonstrated exceptional commitment, knowledge, and dedication in assisting the CEO hiring committee in identifying and securing an exceptional chief executive officer. And whereas the National Council recognizes the significant contributions made by the members of the Columns fundraising group, whose support has been instrumental in the successful outcome of the CEO hiring process. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the National Council of Phi Kappa Tau commends and praises the Columns fundraising group for their outstanding support and guidance, which played a pivotal role in the CEO hiring process. And be it further resolved that this resolution be communicated to the Columns fundraising group, expressing our deepest appreciation for their unwavering dedication and successful outcome achieved in securing an exceptional chief executive officer for Phi Kappa Tau.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Gentlemen.
Graham Woods, Bradley University, Gamma Mu. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those for the resolution, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Next resolution.
Brother President, I have another resolution for you. Nathaniel Greavy, Alpha Rho Chapter, Georgia Tech. This is in regard to alumni relations board resolution for the Phi Kappa Tau fraternity. Whereas the Phi Kappa Tau National Fraternity recognizes the value and importance of its alumni in the advancement and success of the fraternity. And whereas the Phi Kappa Tau National Fraternity desires to build and strengthen its alumni base, increase alumni engagement and resources to benefit programs, and whereas the creation of a paid position called the Director of Alumni Relations, which will aid in achieving of these goals. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Phi Kappa Tau National Council of the fraternity and the CEO hereby establishes the paid position of the Director of Alumni Relations to lead and manage the fraternity's alumni relations efforts. Be it further resolved that the Director of Alumni Relations shall be responsible for developing and implementing programs and initiatives to engage alumni and strengthen the alumni network. Be it further resolved that the National Director of Alumni Relations shall work with the CEO, staff, National Council, and other key stakeholders to develop and execute new volunteer recruitment strategies, and campaigns to support benefit programs and the overall mission of the Phi Kappa Tau National Council of the Fraternity. Be it further resolved that the Director of the Alumni Relations shall report directly to the CEO of the Phi Kappa Tau Fraternity and shall work closely with the National Council and other key stakeholders to achieve the goals and objectives of the fraternity. Be it finally resolved that the Phi Kappa Tau National Council of the Fraternity shall provide the necessary resources and support to enable the Director of Alumni Relations to successfully carry out their responsibilities and achieve the fraternity's goals. This resolution is effective immediately upon passage and shall remain in effect until amended or repealed by the Phi Kappa Tau National Council of the Fraternity. And this was written by Anthony Spano, Gamma Pi 99.
Do we have a second? Gentlemen,
Jonathan Cromer, Delta Chapter, Center College, second.
thank you. All right, it's been motioned and seconded. All those for, please signify by saying aye. All against?
Nay.
We need further discussion?
Yes.
Because I have a division right now. Mr. Hayes, would you like to assume the position?
Apologize, I'm working on minutes. John Hayes, Old Dominion, Gamma Tau. First, a point of information. Anthony Spano is not present, is not represented, and is not a graduate delegate here today. So is this being brought forth by the committee? Or is this being submitted by him and the committee is just reporting it back out?
Chad Warwick, Alpha University of Akron. This was brought up by multiple folks outside of Anthony Spano coming from the committee.
John Hayes, Old Dominion, Gamma Tau. Problem with this resolution is it creates a position that's unfunded, it makes it immediate, and it really exceeds the authority of even, I would argue, the convention at this time to hire a position, to create a position and hire it. Unless you're gonna give me funding for it, it's a little difficult for us to do. If it was written in a fashion that said, we want to have one of this position, I think it would be something that would be easier to accomplish. But how it's written today, that basically creates the position and runs it right away, is problematic for the way these things are generally done. If you want to ask us to do something, I think that's something we can look at, but to tell us that you're going to create the position is problematic.
Councilor Hayes, let's you and I have a dialogue, because this is for my edification. These resolutions are not generally binding, are they?
They're
Are they not?
They're not ever binding.
Okay.
The problem is this one, the language.
Yeah, reads that way.
Reads it immediately.
Why don't you stand up?
You can stand and be recognized, Jack. Help us out here. Jim?
Jack Alvinus, Gamma Gamma, St. John's University. So the point of resolutions is that the body is basically demonstrating both publicly and to the subordinate board of the National Council its desires and wishes that are non-binding. If, in fact, you wanted to create a position, you would actually move to create the position, and we have a history here that when you want to spend money, you have to fund that money. So you'd have to come up with a plan on how you would pay for that. So that's the point. This is a non-binding resolution, which is just a pulse of the body, and the executive and the National Council can do with it as it will. Brother Crane was quick to point out when this first came up that this is not the first time that this resolution or something similar to this has been done, which I'm sure Mr. Spano is well aware.
Okay. Thank you, Jack. For the floor, do you have a comment to contribute?
Phil Ford, Delta Sigma Chapter, Weber College. I would vote this down because of the wording of it. It makes it sound like we want to create it. And I don't think that wording is appropriate. That should be reworded and presented back to the body.
Well, we'll let the body vote and decide what they want to do, okay? Logan, can we ramp up the clickers just to try them out? If you vote for the resolution, you vote aye. If you vote nay, you vote no. Thank you for the clarification, Jack. You ready, Logan? Guys, I want to be quick, but I want to be accurate and accede to your wishes. So I know this is taking longer than it probably should, but let's do it right. All right, let's open up the machine, record the vote. If you vote for the resolution, vote aye. If you vote no, vote no. Open the machine, record the vote. Is everyone voted? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like the machine, record the vote. PGA, I can't see it. Can you?
Looks like it failed, but I can't. It's over there. 51 no, it failed. Yes.
5136, resolution fails. Next motion.
Scott Conroe, Alpha Tau Chapter, Cornell University. Resolution appreciation for Phi Kappa Tau volunteers. Whereas Phi Kappa Tau thrives due to the selfless dedication and service of numerous volunteers within the organization, including local board of governors, housing corporations, domain directors, and national volunteers. And whereas the collective efforts of these volunteers tirelessly contribute their time, expertise, and resources to ensure the success, growth, and operation of Phi Kappa Tau. And whereas the collective efforts of these volunteers working in unison form the backbone of Phi Kappa Tau and enable us to fulfill our mission of developing men of character into lifelong leaders. Now therefore be it resolved that the National Council of Phi Kappa Tau expresses its deepest appreciation and gratitude to all volunteers within the organization for their invaluable service and unwavering commitment, and be it further resolved that this resolution serves as a testament to the critical role played by these volunteers, acknowledging their indispensable contributions in keeping Phi Kappa Tau operating and thriving. Be it further resolved that this resolution be communicated to all Phi Kappa Tau volunteers, recognizing their selfless dedication and collective impact in advancing our organization.
It's been motioned. Is there a second? Gentleman Mark Mitchell.
Delta Kappa, I second.
Gentleman from Tennessee, seconds. All those for, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Next resolution.
Chad Ward, University of Akron Phi. This is for appreciation for the graduate nomination committee of Phi Kappa Tau. Whereas the graduate nomination committee of Phi Kappa Tau has demonstrated exceptional service, dedication, and commitment in fulfilling their responsibilities to select the best candidates for the future of our organization. And whereas the graduate nomination committee members have faced the challenging task of evaluating and making decisions that involve saying no to their brothers, understanding the difficulty and significance of their role. Whereas the National Convention recognizes the significant contributions made by the following members of the graduate nomination committee, whose dedication and expertise have greatly influenced the selection process. Jeff Bayard, Tyler Wash, Jack Alvinus, Bill Rash, Tim Hallman, JJ Lewis, and Mike Rosser. Now therefore be it resolved that the National Convention of Phi Kappa Tau expresses its deepest appreciation and gratitude to the graduate nomination committee for their invaluable service and dedication in identifying and slating the best candidate for the future of our organization. And be it further resolved that this resolution be communicated to each member of the graduate nomination committee by name, acknowledging the difficulty of their position and thanking them for their commitment and service to Phi Kappa Tau.
In motion, is there a second? Ali, state your name, Ms. Good.
Ollie Merchant, Zeta Theta Chapter, University of North Texas. I second this resolution.
Thank you. Gentleman from North Texas State, seconds. All those for, please signify by saying aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Next resolution.
Eric Hummel, Alpha Epsilon, Kansas State University, proposed resolution on diversity, celebrating our quirky diversity and world impact in Phi Kappa Tau. Whereas Phi Kappa Tau prides itself on being a fraternity of eclectic individuals, each with their own unique quirks, interests, and questionable dance moves. And whereas our diverse brotherhood brings together a glorious mishmash of personalities, from the bookworms to the gym rats, the aspiring comedians to the accidental philosophers. And whereas this delightful concoction of characters is what makes Phi Kappa Tau a truly bizarre and beautiful melting pot, now therefore be it resolved that the National Convention of Phi Kappa Tau celebrates the glorious chaos of our diversity, knowing that our vibrant mix of interests, talents, and idiosyncrasies is what sets us apart. Be it further resolved that we embrace our quirkiness and recognize that our wacky personalities and unique perspectives are our superpower, enabling us to make a positive impact on the world. Be it further resolved that this resolution serves as a reminder to celebrate our diverse brotherhood, to appreciate each other's oddities, and to continue spreading our peculiar brand of joy far and wide. Be it finally resolved that the resolution be communicated to all members of Phi Kappa Tau, urging them to embrace their quirks, revel in our diverse tapestry, and shining as the delightful, peculiar individuals we are.
Thank you. It's been motioned. I actually live in a little town called Eclectic, Alabama, so I like that. Do we have a second? Gentlemen.
Cameron Knight, Zeta Omicron, Arizona State University. I second that motion.
Thank you. The gentleman from Arizona State seconds. All those for, please signify by saying aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. We have any more? One more.
Eric Lenz, Upsilon Chapter, Nebraska Wesleyan University. Embracing conflict, the resolution embracing conflict and brotherly discourse in Phi Kappa Tau. Whereas conflict in all its absurdity helps organizations move forward and fosters innovation, and whereas Phi Kappa Tau recognizes the importance of positive brotherly discourse in generating fresh ideas and promoting growth within our organization, and whereas no matter how high emotions may soar or how fiery passions may burn, we will always be brothers, bound by a shared commitment to Phi Kappa Tau. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the National Convention of Phi Kappa Tau embraces conflict as a catalyst for progress and innovation, encouraging positive brotherly discourse among its members, and be it further resolved that no matter the intensity of our debates, discussions, or disagreements, we remain united as brothers, upholding the values and spirit of Phi Kappa Tau. Be it further resolved that this resolution serves as a lighthearted reminder that conflict, though sometimes amusingly exaggerated, can lead us to new horizons, all the while emphasizing our enduring brotherhood. Be it finally resolved that this resolution be communicated to all members of Phi Kappa Tau, reminding them to embrace conflict, engage in brotherly discourse, and continue propelling our organization forward with humor and unity.
Love is in the air, everywhere on the ground. Do we have a second?
Oshkosh Safe, Delta Dog, Cal Poly Pomona, second.
Thank you. The gentleman from Kelly Poly Pomona seconds. All those for, please signify by saying aye. I couldn't hear you. All those for, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Neil. All right. Next, we're going to proceed into, and let's give Chad Warwick and Nathaniel Grieve. That's a lot of work. Thank y'all, co-chairs. Next, we're going to proceed into what is really new business, and we'll start with the jurisprudence report on our legislation.
Point of order.
Okay. Mr. Lucas?
Education Committee.
I did not have that. I thought that was tomorrow. It's on, we're rolling to it. But it's further down. We're coming to it, Mike. Thank you. All right, so we're picking up now on what should have been at noon today. So that's how far we're behind, gentlemen. Legislation number 1, divisions of the fraternity, Jamison Hurd and Ron Miller. If y'all come on up. Thank you.
Jameson Hurd, Delta Beta, Evansville. Before we get into the amendments and statutory changes, I just wanted to tell you some of the work that jurisprudence has been doing at convention. We did go over the motion that was made by Brother Bill Crane, and we will yield the floor very shortly to him so he can explain the spirit of that, and we would like to refer that to delegates' request.
Say that, would you state that again, Jameson?
Yes, the motion that was made by Bill Crane yesterday, we discussed it, and we would like to refer that to delegates' request. But before that happens, I would like Brother Crane to briefly discuss what that motion was again, so the convention understands and know why we are referring it to delegates' request.
For the courtesy, Brother Crane.
Bill Crane, University of Georgia, Beta Z chapter. I met with Jurisprudence Committee this morning. They clarified a few things for me. I'll share that as well. The motion made was to hold a constitutional convention in the off year, which would be 2024, to deal with all these amendments that are proposed. As President Mass just pointed out, we are at where we should have been in the schedule at noon today. And we do have other business items, including the elections, to get into. So there are a number of issues that are addressed well in the proposed statute changes and constitutional amendments. But the document itself, our Constitution, statutes, and bylaws, are flawed, full of incongruities, places where, say, in disciplinary statutes, we say one thing, but in the Constitution, we say another. So the spirit of the motion was to hold it could be conclave. It doesn't, I'm told by jurisprudence, we can't call it a convention because our current national constitution says that conventions can only be held every 2 years or postponed beyond that period, but not held in the interim year. Again, something that should be cleaned up in the language. So I would think we've got enough to focus on for the remainder of today and tomorrow's sessions, including again elections. And the spirit of the amendment was, or the offering was, to take all of the amendments that are about to read and share with you and either table them forward, not hear further discussion about them tonight, or have some discussion about whether we would have a meeting a year from now, call it what we need to call it, focused on our own self-governance and structuring and getting all of our documents in accord with one another. Thank you.
Jamison, what was y'all's response? Please clarify. So y'all want to send it back to delegates' request, or?
Yes, because there are multiple items that are not in line with the Constitution. So we do have to talk about every amendment that in statutory change that was came to us before the 90-day time limit. So out of the spirit, we want to move let me rephrase. We'd like to move this to delegates' requests.
And I forgot that instruction you gave me. If you don't like the constitutional amendments, one way to expedite this is to call for vote and vote against it. The constitutional amendment requires 2/3 votes. We haven't had many margins on anything today of 2/3.
Yeah. So we'd like to refer this matter to delegates' requests to figure out how to properly deal with this motion. If they want to move it to council, or if they want to do something else with it, that's.
Well, let me clarify and be sure I know where I'm at. Are you talking about this motion or Mr. Crane's motion?
So this would be Brother Crane's motion. It cannot actually be made because it would not be with the Constitution, but the spirit of it.
Okay.
We want delegates' requests to deal with that.
All right. So how do you want to dispense with this one at hand here today? This first one?
The very first constitutional amendment, or?
This one you're on now?
They're not there. He's still talking about bills. He wants you to refer bills.
That's where I'm trying to get. So he wants to go back to bills.
Yeah, he's still dealing with bills. So he's asking if you can refer bills.
Okay, let's do this.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to move Mr. Crane's motion concerning Constitution Convention to Delegates Request Committee. Is that correct?
So moved.
Thank you. So is there a second?
JJ Lewis, Gable Land, Central Michigan University, that second motion.
Thank you, Brother Lewis, for always being in the right place at the right time. Is there any further discussion? All those for, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. Hurd.
Yes. So now we're going to do the fun process of amendments and statutory changes. As Brother Crane did remind us all, it requires a 2/3 majority vote in order to actually approve a constitutional amendment change. Logan, can we please have the first constitutional amendments on the screen?
And again, a reminder, the council nor past national presidents can vote on the constitutional amendments. Is that correct? Correct. All right, proceed.
Yes. So the first one, Logan, can you show the documents that I sent you so that we can see the exact changes, please?
Jameson, to expedite this process, please state the title of the change when I return back to my computer so I can accurately navigate it.
All right. So first, Article D_I_1.
Using this as an example, just reading the words that aren't there yet, it points out that.
Oh, no, Mr. Crane, you're not recognized. Assume the position.
Bill Crane, Big C Chapter, University of Georgia. When the verbiage comes up, it refers to graduate members of the National Council. This is a reason, again, for the suggestion about the convention. We removed undergraduate members from the National Council in 2012. We just didn't go back and clean up the language. And the document has errors of that nature throughout.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Luke. So as you can see, this constitutional amendment was proposed by the Gamatol Graduate Council. And what they want to do is remove the graduate member wording. So if you scroll down a bit, if you see what's in yellow highlighted, they want to remove that word because you have to be a graduate member of this fraternity in order to be on the National Council. Yeah. So the Governance Committee feels that, not governance, the Jurisprudence Committee doesn't see any other constitutional impacts besides what's on the screen here. So I would like to open the floor to debate.
All right. Floor is open for discussion of this issue.
Okay.
Is there a second on the committee makes a motion? Did they need a second?
No, because it's been submitted.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, right, so we don't even need a motion.
Okay.
All right, we need no motion.
So motion to approve the constitutional.
All right, any discussion? Gentlemen.
Mal Pacheco, New Chapter, Berkeley. Could I just request that while we are discussing a motion, it remains on the board so we can see them and review them as we discuss it?
Excellent point. Thank you, Logan. All right, any other discussion? All those for, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Hurd. Let's proceed. Next.
So just to clarify, are we actually voting on the amendments right now to approve them and make them? Because if so, we need to do clickers so we actually know if we did the majority vote, correct?
No, we don't have the clicker. We have a super majority. If it's close, I'm gonna call division and we'll go to clicker.
Cool. I just want to double check and make sure we're doing.
All right.
Thank you.
Next article.
Can I see Article E, Section 3, please?
Call it out again for Logan.
Article E underscore, 2, it's voting on the National Council.
Say that again. C.
Article E underscore.
Article E.
Yes.
Is that it?
That is correct. Thank you. So this is another one proposed by the Kennesaw Graduate Council. So this is changing the vote. So typically national officers can vote at convention. We just want to change that officers to only the council. There is no change to how we currently vote that would occur because the only other considered national officers at this time are domain directors. And by the Constitution, they are not allowed, and CO. By the Constitution, they are not allowed to, the main directors are not allowed to vote at convention. So this is just making it a little bit more precise. There's no other constitutional implications, so I will make a motion to approve this amendment.
Any discussion? Brother Hayes.
John Hayes, Old Dominion, Kennesaw. Do it real quick. The reason we came forth with this is the CEO has a vote. Our CEO is not a brother of our chapter or of our organization. As such, the CEO should not have a vote. In addition to that, not even dealing with the CEO, if the CEO was a brother, the CEO is an employee of the organization and is here representing the organization. You all are the body that makes the decision. So the CEO, even if he was a brother, should not have a vote as the CEO. And so this is just trying to clean up that process.
Thank you, Brother Hayes. Any further discussion? Seems pretty clear, but if anybody has any questions. Seeing none, all those for, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Next.
Logan, can we please see Article F underscore III underscore 1? So this is a amendment proposed by the National Council. Before online, you probably saw a gamma tall that was incorrect. It is the National Council who put this forward. Essentially what is happening is we are removing the votes of the National Foundation members on the National Council. So Logan, you can scroll down a bit. What is highlighted is what is currently there, and we are removing that language. So there is a potential implication that I would like my colleague Ryan to talk about.
Yeah, so Ryan Miller, Delta Lambda chapter at Mosquito University. Basically, with the Constitution, the UAB says UAB cannot exceed the number of national counselors. So right now that is 10. Voting national counselors. So right now that is 10. If James, let me know if I'm saying this right. If this would be passed, it would jump down to 8, right? And then you want to do the filling. Yes. So.
All right, gentlemen, let's get in proper form. I was down there reading this. Gentlemen, tell us your name again. Okay, again.
All right, Ryan Miller, Delta Lambda chapter at Mosquito University.
And what was your question?
He's the co-chair explaining the rule.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so basically again, right now, the UAB cannot exceed the amount of voting national counselors. And if this would be passed, the UAB numbers would jump down from 10 to 8. So we were going to,
Hey Logan, can you scroll down to the friendly amendment language, please?
So it is not up there, but I will tell you about this. So if we enact the friendly amendment, it would change basically the wording. So instead of it saying the undergraduate advisory board shall not exceed the number of voting members of the National Council, it would then say the undergraduate advisory board shall not exceed 10 members. So instead, it would go from exceeding national councils to just the UAB being set as not exceeding 10 members.
Okay. Let me get us in the proper posture for that. So we can accept the friendly amendment if no one from the National Council objects. Hold on. We can't accept. Anybody from the National Council object to that friendly amendment? Is anybody prepared to stand up and object? Okay. So we can accept the friendly amendment and move on. All right. Motion's been made and seconded with a friendly amendment. All those for, please signify by saying aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Next.
Please give us one moment.
Sure. Yeah, Logan, if you bring that back up so people can see the friendly amendment jurisprudence that we've already adopted it, but we just want everybody to see that again. Jack, do you need to be recognized?
Well, Scott.
Scott, I mean.
Delta Cap, Tennessee. Just understand that we have the ability to make our own fly changes, and we have an email exchange going back and forth to get it to Logan in the back to do that. So we want to show you that wording because the friendly amendment is to a second section that they found in interference that from the original thing. So when you look at it, you see here what that friendly amendment was. So when you heard him make the friendly amendment, this is what it was. Thank you.
Scott, is it friendly, is it in green, is that the part?
Yes, that
Change
is the
the
part
amendment.
that is
Okay.
added, so.
So we have adopted it. Thank you, Scott. All right, next one.
Can you move? That's three. Can you please put on Article F_II_2? This amendment is it was submitted by the Guillermo Graduate Council. Currently, our constitution reads that the National Council has to meet at least once annually. They would like to change that to at least quarterly. So if you move down, Logan, please, so we can see the change. So here highlighted, annually is going to be changed, and then to address certain specific urgent matters will also be changed. The changes are in green. So you can see we're going from annually to quarterly. And we're talking about we have the ability to do electronic or telephonic conferences at discretion at the national president and national council. There's no other constitutional implications, so I move to approve this amendment.
As a practice, we already did, but I think this codifies it, so. Is that correct? It's been moved. Is there any further discussion? Just some cleanup, it looks like. All right, all those for, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. Hurd.
Yes, Logan, can you please put Article F_III up, please? So this is a amendment proposed by Guy and Beta Omicron Graduate Councils. Essentially, what they're trying to do is reduce the term of national counselors from 6 years down to 4 years. We will still have the same number of national counselors. I do want to say if this is approved, it'll be up to the national counselor and the executive offices to figure out how that transition would actually work. It will not affect the elections that are going to occur today. So we're still going to be electing 2 national counselors. So here's how it currently reads. You can see that we are changing terms such as 2 of the 6 are elected to 3 of 6. We're changing eligibility just to make everything come out correctly. So Logan, if you can please scroll down to the actual changes. With that, we will move to approve this amendment.
Mr. Chair.
Gentlemen.
Scott Brown, Double Copper, Tennessee. Gentlemen, I want you to think about this one and what it's going to mean for our organization. If you look at this, right now, every 2 years, we elect 1/3 of our national counselors. We elect 2. If we move to a 4-year term, you're going to elect half of your national counselors, 3 out of the 6 every 2 years. It means you're going to turn over your leadership team every 2 years. You're going to have a different shift there because you'll have a new vice president, you'll have 3 new counselors, you'll have 4 new bodies on that term. The other thing it's going to do is you are starting to look at how people can come in and go out. So please look at this and really vote on what you think this is going to do to the organization and what you want the organization to be going forward. This is not a very simple thing. This is something that we need to be deliberate about.
Thank you. Brother Chapel.
David Lipinski, Penn State University, Omicron chapter. I strongly disagree with this motion or this change. I had the honor of serving on National Council, granted 30 years ago. And with no disrespect, it takes you about 2 years to figure out what's going on. And that's kind of there. And I think the ability of having an institutional memory that the National Council has in counselors is important. And at point there is, I'm not knocking the idea of trying to reduce commitments and all that, but I think we're losing part of that knowledge that is only won by experience doing it. I give an example to you undergraduates. What if you had a new EC every semester? That's not going to work real well in a chapter, making that big of a change. I respectfully submit that you should vote no to this because I don't believe it's the best interest of our fraternity.
Thank you. Gentlemen.
John Hayes, Old Dominion, Dematha. First, Chair, I'm standing on the wrong side. This is clearly your better side. I'll be honest with everybody. This is my 2nd year on council. I've been to 9 conventions. This is my 2nd year on council. Been actively involved since I joined this brotherhood. I could not wrap my head around stuff until about now. Probably 2-3 weeks ago, I understand what's going on, but it took a long time, right? I've got a law degree, I've got a background in doing boards. It took a while to really grasp, not just the National Council, but all the little moving parts. So if you think of the Old Main Holdings stuff that you read, the CAPA stuff that's been presented to you, and all that, and you have to be the person that's making those decisions to ensure we're pushing forward our fraternity in the right direction. 6 years is where we're at. It's probably reasonable. 4 years is probably not enough time. The other item I'm going to make a point of is graduate nominating committee had the option to appoint people or to nominate people that had 4 years of experience to the vice president's role, and they chose not to. So that even shows you that our graduate nominating committee is not prepared for somebody to come directly off council and run for the vice president at this point in time. My suggestion for this is to vote no.
Thank you. The gentleman over here.
Kevin Prather, Beta Gamma, University of Idaho. When considering this particular issue, I would encourage everybody to think back to the strategic plan that was presented. Does this amendment fit within the strategic vision and goals of the fraternity on whole? I think we've heard a lot over the last 2 days, but I think also it's easy to forget just a few hours ago or a day ago that we talked about the strategic plan. So a lot of work goes into the strategic plans. I think it's worthwhile to consider that as you consider how you would vote on this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Esteemed former staffer, one of my favorites, Mr. Brandon Lewis, Middle Tennessee State University, is that correct?
That is exactly correct.
Thank you.
Good job. Brandon Lewis, Zeta Lambda, Middle Tennessee State University. So I agree with everything that's been said so far, 100%. Having working under 3 national presidents and many more counselors, that second year really is when the stride hits. And if we want to move to be a more strategic organization that wants expansive growth, turning over leadership is not the way to do that. Main reason I didn't want to come up here is I'm curious if the sponsor of this amendment or someone who is in the camp writing this is here to speak on that. I'm curious what the logic is. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Well, certainly we'll hear more of their thoughts because I'm not sure how this would make the organization better in my life.
Thank you, Brother Lewis. Gentleman from Georgia.
Bob Ragsdale, Beta Z chapter of the University of Georgia. Served on council for 2 years. I don't have a law degree, I'm just a farmer, but I grasped it pretty quickly. A 6-year term is a long commitment. There are many sitting in the audience this afternoon, almost tonight, that maybe they don't want to give up 6 years of their lives, even for Phi Kappa Tau. 4 years is a reasonable term. You can grasp the job fairly quickly.
Yeah, but brother, you're a farmer.
I'm a successful farmer. So I would suggest to you that 4 years is reasonable. If you want to maintain the status quo and, hang on to 6 years, that's your business. I think 4 years is a reasonable term.
Thank you. Next gentleman.
Greg Holland, Beta Omicron chapter, University of Maryland, is a fellow co-sponsor of this. I would remind folks that, to Bob's point, when we've sought to recruit people to be on the National Council, many alumni will not commit to a 6-year term. Surprisingly, somehow, at least in the state of Texas, our state reps are elected to 2-year terms. They seem to do okay. There are a number of other elected processes that are 2 or 4-year terms. Gentlemen, the issue isn't necessarily the year terms, it's the effectiveness of the individuals who are representing you. And in many ways, we've heard they've been lacking. Having them not represent you well for 2 more years is probably not your best approach. I think 4 years, as someone who's been on the council many times, 4 years is plenty. It's all how you orient people, how you onboard them to get onto the council. I think it's incumbent upon us to do some things differently with this national council. And I would strongly recommend that you give serious consideration to reducing the term, increasing the candidate pool, and look for a more diverse, both in career and other elements of the council than what we currently have. Thank you.
Logan, can you position the clickers for this? Because I'll just go ahead and tell you, we're probably going to need it, so we're going to vote like that first. All right. Any further discussions on the motion? I want to give everybody plenty of time. Appreciate the caucus going on down here, but we're fixing to vote. So if your clicker's at your table, you're going to miss the vote. So Logan, if you can go ahead and open that up. Okay. I think that's a good idea.
I thought Sasha had numbers.
Well, all right, let's open up the voting on the amendment. Are we ready to go? Let's vote. Thank you.
It's blocked.
All right, close the vote.
Can you give me the numbers, please?
Yep. 38 yes, 48 no, so it looks like
Motion fails. All right, thank you. Ron Brown.
Scott Brown, Delta Kappa, Tennessee. I'd like to make a motion to change the order of the day for tomorrow.
What's the intention of the motion?
The intention is we've talked with all of the candidates and we want to move the vice president and national council elections tomorrow morning. We feel that the body needs a break.
All right, so we would proceed with the national president elections tonight and then do the vice president, national council in the morning. Do I understand that correctly, Brother Brown?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do I have a second?
John Hayes, Old Dominion, Game of Taw, second.
No debate, not debatable. All those for, please raise your hand. All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. We'll proceed tonight with election for president and tomorrow with vice president and national council. Back to Mr. Hurd.
Jameson Hurd, Delta Beta, Evansville. Logan, please put up Article F_III_4. While he's doing that, I do want to clarify that even though I am making the motions to approve these amendments, this is in the capacity of the jurisprudence committee. We are not making a recommendation for or against any of these amendments or statutory changes.
True.
This is a amendment proposed by the Kamatall Graduate Council. It is to remove the foundation board members from the National Council. Before we actually make a motion, I do want John Hayes to.
Move.
Sorry, I'll move first. I move to approve the amendment.
Sure.
John Hayes, Old Dominion, Game of Taw. Gentlemen, this came up. We've had lots of conversations with the foundation this weekend, which we've not had previously. Game of Taw asked to strike this, to not bring it up. However, how our body works, it has to come up. So Game of Taw is requesting that everybody vote no on this amendment.
Further discussion? Brother Carlos, can you give us a little clarifications on, thank you.
Yeah, Rick Carlos, Gamma Crime National Council. Point of clarification is this, I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. This is the amendment to change the two foundation members off of the National Council. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
This was actually passed by the National Council, not Gamma Tau. It was submitted and passed by the council. So just be clear about that. And we are in full support of this based off of our vote for this to pass.
Sorry, the one previous about the non-voting members, like making the foundation boards non-voting members, that was council. This one that is removing them from the board was not. That's how it was described to me.
That's how it was, right?
All right, I'm not sure where we are, so I still need some further clarification. One removed, gave them non-voting, and this one removes them?
This one would completely remove the foundation board members from the national council because it is striking this paragraph in its entirety.
Okay.
Brother Hayes, the one who I believe originally made it, said we should strike it down, so. Okay.
Brother Hayes urges no. No vote. Any further discussion? All right. All those for the motion, please signify by raising your hand. All those against, please same sign. Motion failed. Next.
Logan, please put up Article G _ III. This is an amendment proposed by the Utah Graduate Council. What it's doing is changing the language from making national president, designate an installation team, and arrange dates for installations of new chapters, moving that responsibility to the chief executive officer. There's no other implications from a constitutional standpoint, so I will move to approve this amendment.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those for, please raise your right hand. All those against? Motion passes. Thank you, Brother Hayes. Brother Hurd.
Logan, please put up title IB _ 38. I will also let my colleague here start describing the statutory changes. We got through all the amendments that were submitted, so we're almost there, guys.
Ryan Miller, Delta Lambda Chapter, Muskegon, Ohio. Gamatov is proposing the statute change and by accepting this amendment, it would remove domain directors as national officers, alleviating potential liability to the national fraternity. Logan, you want to scroll down a little bit? Thank you. Yeah. So we are striking the highlighting. If the section, if passed, should be rewritten as the domain director shall provide liaisons between graduate councils, alumni clubs, and the national headquarters, instead of what is highlighted, if passed.
So councilors and presidents, past national presidents, can vote on this as statutory.
Move to approve.
Been motion to approve. Any further discussion?
Sasha Konevsky, Epsilon Kappa, Rutgers University. The domain directors strongly recommend against the motion. The domain director program is currently being transitioned, and our status as national officers should stay until the program is rewritten, at which point we can reevaluate this statutory change. Again, domain directors recommend to decline the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. The gentleman here.
Jeff Weintraub, Delta Tau, Cal Poly Pomona. Can the proposers kind of expand on what their preamble says about alleviating potential liability? Point of clarification or inquiry?
Brother Hayes.
John Hayes, Old Dominion, Utah. The liability of domain directors who interact with our undergraduates and may not be as supervised as others would potentially cause liability concerns. So if a domain director who's marked as a national officer is at a event that may or may not be sanctioned by the, or not sanctioned by the national office, that may have risk management concerns associated with it, and they're there, but they're marked as a national officer, our D&O policy would potentially have to get involved from that. So if they're at an event at a local chapter doing something, maybe or maybe not on the appropriate level, whatever it happens to be, but the fact that they're labeled a national officer would potentially bring the organization itself into a suit.
And then,
Thank you, do you have follow-up?
yeah, Jeff Weintraub, Delta Tau Kappa Alpha. So, D&O liability necessarily has protection for volunteers, which domain directors are categorized as volunteers. So, you know, in light of just prudence, I would say maybe if we could have a friendly amendment to the preamble that says may alleviate potential liability, since we're not making judgments of law or fact-finding body. So, a friendly amendment to add the word may in front of alleviating potential liability.
Yes.
All right, let me catch that again.
Sorry.
Yeah, the preamble doesn't actually have effect, so that, I think that's out of order.
Okay.
Back over here, we'll come to you again, if you need it. Brother French.
Michael French, Beta View, Kent State. I, as a former domain director, I stand with my current brethren in retaining their title as national officers without a vote. I suggest that this amendment receive a negative response. Again, I stand with my fellow domain directors.
Gentleman here for one more follow-up.
Jeff Weintraub, Delta Tau Kappa Alpha. Just as an informative matter on the conditional statement, so no proposed motion at this time.
Thank you. Brother Carlos.
Ray Carlos, Omicron National Council member. I also would highly recommend voting no to this. National officers or domain directors have played a very significant role in the history of our fraternity, and national officers is the right title for it.
Thank you. Brother Toby.
Bob Toby, Beta Zeta, New Mexico State University. So we're asking these guys to drive all over Kingdom Come to make calls on chapters all over the place. And am I to understand that now we're not going to protect them in case something happens and they're brought into a frivolous lawsuit or some other thing, no fault of their own?
Gentleman, Brad.
Kevin Prather, Beta Gamma, University of Idaho. A better question that I'm not hearing is a really important inquiry. Who in this room can actively describe to me what our D&O coverage actually covers? The reason being, my personal experience with this is that we do not really have D&O coverage. It covers a limited amount of legal expense once you've been sued, and after that, you're on your own, baby. So one of the things that this maybe brings up is, at a bare minimum, this should be struck down until we have a better, more robust conversation about how we as all volunteers are actually protected.
Okay, I'm going to defer to Matt here in a minute. Do you have any similar inquiry you want to move to Matt?
I'll defer to the CEO, but I do have one point on kind of responding.
Okay. State your name, sir.
Bill, I was going to, just the dramatic pause there. Bill Crane, University of Georgia, Beta Z chapter. Domain director for, I think, 11 years, two-time Stennis Award winner. And when we had domain directors who traveled, referencing what Bob talked about, they were an invaluable asset. The program got rearranged from 33 domains down to 9, and so many of you undergraduates may not have had any experience or even know you have a domain director. But they are and have been historically covered by the liability insurance program as any other volunteer. And I remember when we made the language change to defer them as national officers was both for status and also to raise and elevate, when they made campus visits, their relationship with Greek office personnel as well as the chapters, because they were essentially volunteered with a new hat, domain director. And so that was the reason, the rationale for the change. They've never been given a vote Because if they did have votes, and when we had 33 of them, this convention, there are more graduate delegates registered than undergraduates. This convention, by about 10 votes, there are more alumni registered voting for many cases, dormant chapters, than there are undergraduates. If you added 33 more alumni, then you'd have an almost 2-1 majority in most conventions of alumni versus undergraduates.
Brother Nelson.
Brother Mask, Steve Nelson, Beta Epsilon chapter, University of Southern Mississippi. I'd like to piggyback on what Brother Crane said, but I'd like to offer some institutional memory. Having dealt with the lawsuits, the term national officer was specifically put in then. So there would never be any question should one of our domain directors be part of a lawsuit and fall through the cracks and not be covered liability-wise. So that was, and also they do deserve the term national office. Whether we change that or not is irrelevant. What is important is if the guy's going to serve, it's going to represent a region, a district, a group of chapters. He needs to have the surety and the safety net of knowing that if something was to happen, he's going to fall upon or within our protection with our liability insurance.
So what is your urging, if you don't mind me asking?
What is mine? My personal opinion, I'm going to do whatever it takes to protect my domain directors, whether it's 10 or 30. And I know for a fact, having consulted with 2 different lawyers when we came up with that wording, during the time there was a possibility of severe lawsuits, I would leave the wording alone because they're protected as national officers. So.
Okay. And now I'll go to CEO Matt Arnold for clarifications on the insurance.
I think John was referring to our general liability policy, not our D&O coverage. So to satisfy the gentleman's request about D&O, we're actually talking about our general liability policy. So I just wanted to clarify that as a part of that discussion.
All right, any further discussions on this issue? Gentleman from Washington.
Michael Lukens, Alpha Pi, Washington, move to vote.
Max Strauss.
I mean, we're ready to vote unless, no need to call the question, so let's go. All right, all those for the amendment, please raise your hand. All those against? Logan, we're gonna have to use the clicker, it's close. No, motion failed. Thank you. Mr. Hurd.
Logan, can you please bring up title IB_44?
Ryan Miller, Delta Lambda, Muskegon University. This one covers a lot, so I'm going to read the first part word for word, just so we can fully understand what is going on. The Gamma Tau proposed statute change, and by accepting this amendment, it places the judicial decision solely on the National Ethics Committee and removes the potential for political influence of the National Council. The National Council remains the supreme judicial body of the fraternity. And look, if you just want to scroll down just a little bit. As of right now, it reads that the National Council shall have jurisdiction to try cases of impeachment of national officers and to try all cases not otherwise definitely provided for the place of the trial. And if passed, the ones highlighted in green is what the words are being changed to, right? Is what the words would be changed to, and the ones highlighted in blue is words that will be added. Also, you want to cover the trial?
So I just want to clear some quick things up. Essentially, the current policy is if there's a tribunal, it can be appealed to the National Council. And that's why we have the language consistent with Title VII and disciplinary policy. What we're doing here is if there was a National Council member who is being, has a tribunal against them or something, we're removing National Council, making those disciplinary decisions and bringing that to the National Ethics Committee. There is another issue at hand here. Currently, National Ethics Committee is not a standing committee. I do have a statutory change that makes it a standing committee, and I'm going to refer that to National Council to get them to vote on that once convention is out of session, just to speed things along. So that won't be an issue, but I want you guys to be aware of that. With that being said, I will make a motion to.
Could you state that last part again?
Yes. Currently, the National Ethics Committee is not a standing committee as it is in the statutes currently written. So I already have a statute written up that I'm going to send to National Council to approve once convention is out of session. So we do not need to worry about that issue here. We can vote on that statute as well, if that's the will of the body. Like I said, I have it written up, there'd be no problem to do that.
Jamison, Mr. Hurd, I can't see it. Does this refer to the National Ethics Committee?
Yes, it does.
Which there is none.
There's no standing committee, but the president does have the power to create committees, so they can create a National Ethics Committee.
Any discussion at all?
John Hayes.
Go ahead, Sasha.
Sasha Konevsky, Epsilon Kappa, Rutgers University. Could the author of the motion just speak to this motion as to why we need the National Ethics Committee to do the tribunal and then be overseen by the National Council?
Sure.
John Hayes,
John.
Game of Talk. So the policy, the disciplinary policy that's currently in place for the fraternity actually established an ethics committee. It's not a standing committee, but it does exist in the policy itself. In that same policy, which the council approved last year, one of the first things we did, in that policy, it created the National Ethics Committee and set it as the standard for the person at the tribunal that would resolve issues that come out of the council. If a counselor gets put up, goes to the tribunal, and then the council becomes the supreme body. So if the tribunal makes a decision, the individual has the ability to appeal that decision to the National Council. However, our statutes were never aligned with that item. So the statutes say that the impeachments are conducted by the national office or by the National Council, even though the disciplinary policy that was passed by the National Council says that that proceeding would be performed by the Ethics Committee. So the attempt here is to make this in line with the policy that we as a council approved in September, October, I think it was October of 21.
Okay, thank you. And who chooses the National Ethics Committee?
According to the disciplinary process, the president is who establishes the members, and I'm assuming based off of how we do the rest of them, is it would be with the approval of the National Council. So when a member is made into the organization or put into a place of position of power, the council, it's always the president appoints, the council approves.
And how many members would be on the committee?
It's in the disciplinary process. I don't have the policy in front of me, it's there.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion, Brother Pacheco.
Yes, Val Pacheco, new chapter Berkeley. I'm just a little concerned or questioning unintended consequences. Earlier in the convention, we talked about National Council and how they had approved bringing back two brothers who had gone through the tribunal process, and that was reversed. Would this amendment tie the hands of the fraternity where they can no longer come back?
John Hayes, Old Dominion Game of Talk. The two members that that came back were not put through a tribunal. Those members were voluntary withdrawals during their days of when it was. To answer your question, the National Council is still the supreme body. So if the Ethics Committee, I'm sorry, it's not the supreme body. The National Council is still the highest portion when the convention is not in place. If somebody was to go through the tribunal, not agree with the outcome, from the tribunal, from the Ethics Committee, not agree with the outcome, their appeal is to the National Council. And so without it, there is no appeal. If the council is dealing with its own member, there is no appeal for that member to go to anybody else.
I was involved with bringing that, one of those back to the National Council. The person was not a voluntary withdrawal, it was a tribunal. It went through the chapter, and that's why they didn't question it, because they couldn't find the documentation. And that was in the paperwork that was submitted to National. So again, I pose the question, if a chapter has a tribunal, and then the person is asked to leave, and they want to come back and make amends and make it good, how does that impact?
Scott Brown, Delta Kappa, Tennessee. I'm also the National Governance Advisor. So when we worked on the disciplinary process, there's actually a hierarchy of going through this. So if you start with the undergraduate chapter, if someone goes through a disciplinary process and it goes into a tribunal and they get a result, there's an avenue for them to do an appeal. Depending on where they start, it goes to the Board of Governors or it goes to National Council. Okay, so that you have that avenue of appeal. If you're a graduate council, it starts off at your level and then you can, your appeal goes up to the National Council. The issue that this is talking about is exactly what John was talking about, was in the previous policy, if you were a national counselor, your tribunal was at the National Council and you had no appeal. You could not appeal your decision anywhere. So the ultimate body of appeal is National Council. So this sets up where your tribunal is not handled by council, so you now have an avenue of appeal. Okay, is that the, okay.
Brother Carlos.
Brother President, Ray Carlos, Gamma Omicron. This is just a reflection of a larger issue, I think, in our fraternity, the fairness of accountability, who has authority.
Get a little closer. There you go.
Ray Carlos, Gamma Omicron, National Council member. I think this is a larger issue with our national fraternity about accountability and gaps in fairness. I'm concerned both on the council level, the undergrad level, the alumni level, and how we hold people accountable, or if we do, we start going down a rabbit hole about who is overseeing the National Ethics Committee at that point, and over again. So I think we need to fundamentally look at this collectively in all areas of due process within our fraternity.
All right, Brother Carlos, I appreciate the comments. I'm hearing a lot of ambiguity on this, so to be fair, I mean, we can vote it up or down, or we can send it back to jurisprudence, because there are some issues on the National Ethics Committee. This thing's sort of hanging out there and needs some work, but Brother Crane.
Bill Crane, BC Chapter, University of Georgia. As I mentioned 2 hours ago, if we just voted all of these down, because you've individually voted all of them down but one, we'd have all that time back, and then we could be dealing with these more substantively. All but 2? And how many? So anyway, my point is, these are some weighty issues, as National Council Member Carlos was saying a moment ago. You guys are tired. I'm on my second cup of coffee and my brain is tired. This is a very weighty issue about how you remove or discipline a member of the National Council. And I think it deserves a fresher pair of eyes, and if not the process I suggested, a select committee, write it up as statutes, bring it to the council, and bring it back to the convention. This is a one-off, and we've got too many one-offs, cut and pastes throughout the document.
Are you making a motion with that to refer back, or to?
I would move to refer back to jurisprudence.
Jacobina, St. John's
Motion's
University.
been made to refer back to jurisprudence.
Jacobina, St. John's University, Gamma Gamma, I second.
Motion's accepted.
Brother
Simple majority.
Brother Vice President, request to amend that motion to table it. If you send it to jurisprudence, they have to report it back out. Just table this and let it die on the table.
Will you accept the amendment? Go ahead, please do. I want to keep everybody in the right posture, or we're going to break down.
Bill Crane, Beta Z Chapter, University of Georgia, accept the friendly amendment.
Friendly amendment has been made to table. Any further discussion? It's not debatable, is it? Motion on the table is not debatable. All those for, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion tabled. Thank you. Brother Miller.
All right, Logan, can you go to the title IV, the one that's adding a new paragraph 46? Yeah, the statute change for title IV, adding a new paragraph, the one removed. Oh, I didn't have that. Title IV underscore 46. All right, so what we have, Ryan Miller, Delta Lambda Chapter, Muskegon University. What we have here is a new addition from the Gamma Tau, which is the one proposing it. And if passed, it would assure any current officer of the fraternity who violates their oath to office or our cardinal principle and is determined by judicial process to be unsuited to hold their current office from serving in the future. One thing to note with this new addition is this does not state if it is a undergraduate officer or graduate officer. So right now it would entail as both, which means any undergraduate officer who would violate any of these would not be able to hold any office. Motion to approve.
Because it acts as a second of its own accord. It's implying that John was the second. Bill changed. Hold on. Like John's friendly amendment, Bill changed his motion to refer into a motion on the table. Bill changed his motion.
Any discussion? Brother Ford.
Phil Ford, Delta Sigma Chapter, Weber College. I'm asking for some clarification. So basically, as I understand it,
Get closer to the mic.
if an undergraduate council decides for whatever reason they don't want a brother to serve in an office and they remove him, that brother can never hold another office in our fraternity again.
Based on how the current language is, that is our understanding, so that's correct.
That's what, okay. I would recommend that this not be approved because of the fact a 20-year-old that is removed from office as an undergraduate, 40 years later, if he wants to run for national council and he has bettered himself and improved his life and done whatever, he should have that right to do it and let the body decide if they deserve to be in the office at that point. But to remove somebody at 19, 18, 20 years old permanently forever, I think is ridiculous, and that goes against what our brotherhood concept is all about.
Jordan Lowe, Beta Lambda, Indiana University. Question for John, because I'm pretty sure you wrote this, but it specifies in here Title IV and Title VII, which I believe are specific to national officers only. So this shouldn't apply to any resident council or subordinate councils, but would like clarification there that with that specificity of Title IV and Title VII there, if that is only to national officers in this context. So thank you.
All right, Brother Hayes, can you pull that up?
I'm working it.
Thank you. Please proceed when you get that up.
I know. Brother National Vice President.
Brother Hurd, while Brother Hayes is pulling that up, can you explain our posture and where we're going next? Save some time.
Jameson Hurd, Delta Beta, Evansville. So one of the amendments that did not pass, that we were going to strike that paragraph, it says that the foundation members are voting members in that paragraph, but we just approved the amendment removing their vote. So jurisprudence is going to write a amendment to
Clean it up.
Clean it up, and we will present that back tomorrow. We're also going to review the changes that the scholarship committee referred to us.
Excellent. John?
John Hayes, Old Dominion, Give and Talk. So Title IV refers to national fraternity operations and only addresses the National Council, the National President, and the Chief Executive Officer. No other officers throughout the organization are mentioned in Title IV. So when we're looking at Title IV, that's what it's talking about, is those three officers directly. And then Title VII is the disciplinary statutes itself. So subordinate councils fall under Title V, and that is where the subordinate councils bylaws and the members of the subordinate councils, which would include the undergraduate men, fall under a whole different statute or a whole different title section. And that was the reason that we selected or we put in the titles directly. Title IV is strictly national level officers. Title VII is referring to the disciplinary procedures and disciplinary statutes. That's it. So an undergraduate man, reading it the way that we read it, would say that an undergraduate that gets removed is not the same as a national council that gets removed or a national volunteer that gets removed for breaking their oath and not fulfilling their fiduciary obligation.
All right, let me clarify, and I'm gonna allow Brother Ford to come back up, because I'm figuring it out myself. Does that go counter to what Brother Ford's points were?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. The gentleman, Mr. Reese.
Rob Reese, Beta Mu, Kent State University. I just wanted to iterate Brother Ford's point. Regardless of whether this is directed at an undergrad or a graduate or an alumni officer or national, I just think it's unnecessary. You know, if we applaud the comment he made regarding an undergraduate, then we should applaud it as it pertains to our graduate and our alumni brothers. I just think this is an unnecessary definition and should be voted down.
Thank you, Brother Reese. All right, any further comments? So we're gonna wrap this up. Brother Ford, are you satisfied? Well, I shouldn't ask that, I know that answer.
Phil Ford, Delta Sigma Chapter, Weber College. I understand what has just been said, but I'll repeat what I said earlier. People change. If a gentleman is a national officer at 21 years old and was elected to our national council after he graduated college and got removed, and 40 years later wanted to run for national council again because he's improved his life, he's went through rehab, he's done whatever. I don't think we should remove somebody in perpetuity because that's hurting the organization. It's as simple as that. Perpetuity is a hell of a long time.
Thank you. All right. I think the horse has been beaten, so we're going to vote on this. All those for, please signify by saying aye. All opposed? The nays have it. Motion is defeated. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a 5-minute necessary break, and we're coming back in, and we will proceed with the speeches and vote for National President, Brother Nelson.
Mask, Steve Nelson, Epsilon Chapter, University of Southern Mississippi. I'd like to update my report from this morning. I'm proud to report that I met with one of the chapters that was listed before you, one of the 5, and we have come to terms. They will begin their repayment in September 1, in 2 months, with full interest and principal and interest. And we've reduced the term of their loan from 10 years to 5 years. So
excellent work.
So that's another one on the list that's a good comment.
All right. Do we have anything necessary? 5-minute break, get back in here quickly, gentlemen, because we're gonna rock and roll.
New Orleans though, and let's just say it was. Whew. But also this too, I want to come back, Missy, because I don't know.
1 minute warning. Marshals, please go in the hall and ask everybody to get in here. Let's go.
I'm in the mood for a Pop-Tart.
30 seconds, get your coffee and coconuts and get in here. Yeah. Coconuts. Yes. Oh, no, it's not, yeah. All right, let's everybody be seated, please, for our important elections for national president. 2 candidates have been nominated, Brother Michael Loomis, Brother Mike McCrone. Nominations have been closed for this office. Tomorrow we will have the nominations and we can reopen for vice president as well as national council. But the nominations have been closed for this office. Each candidate has been previously briefed and informed. We decided to go with alphabetical order. Below them, as we did last night, we allow them up to 10 minutes and they have the 10-minute timer here. Our first candidate, let's welcome Brother Michael Loomis.
I firmly believe that all of you, regardless of your chapter or your generation, have built and been a part of something significant because of Phi Kappa Tau. What sets us apart from other collegiate organizations is our ability to foster meaningful relationships, create enduring legacies, and provide valuable learning and leadership opportunities, all rooted in our creed and cardinal principles. We're all part of something bigger than ourselves individually because of Phi Kappa Tau. But I also believe, with the vantage point of years of loyal volunteerism to this national fraternity, as a past domain director, educational program volunteer, National Convention Committee Chairman, Bordeaux Challenge Chairman, Bowls and Heritage Society donor, and for the past 7 years, National Counselor leading our strategic plan. And before that, as a chapter president, founding father, and Scheidler Award winner. With that context, I believe that this pivotal moment in our history demands our attention. My vision for Phi Kappa Tau is to think bigger and expect better. The challenges around us are substantial. Men account for 70% of the decline in college enrollment in the last 5 years. Colleges in financial distress are up to over 900 schools and more unaffordable than ever to attend. We see declining Greek life participation and in many cases outright hostile environments to fraternities. A global pandemic certainly didn't help our cause. But I'm confident that we can rise above all these challenges if we'll think bigger. Our strategic plan gives us a roadmap to think bigger. It calls for a proactive posture of growth,
positioning ourselves to take market share, to innovate, to attract and retain students with new and differentiated value propositions, to use data to inform our decisions. These are areas that I spend every day thinking about professionally, and we're just starting to apply within Phi Kappa Tau. From our strategic planning work, we can finally forecast growth strategies and investment levels, predicting how they'll impact our membership in the future. With my background in innovation leadership, I have practical real-world experience in how we can harness the creativity present on your local campus. Identify things that actually work, like membership development at Colorado, recruitment at Tennessee, philanthropy at Eastern Kentucky, and then scale and replicate those strategies nationwide. We're going to think bigger about the value that we deliver to our members and design improvements around a lifetime membership journey. We'll build out a framework that outlines 12 stages of Phi Tau membership with dozens of touch points to ensure that the national organization consistently adds value at every step. We can think bigger in areas like housing, to develop an integrated housing strategy encompassing the fraternity, the housing fund, Old Man Holdings, and the foundation. Leveraging data on existing properties, assets, equity, and capital improvement needs, we can simplify our approach, get it under solid management, tie housing strategy to our expansion strategy, and make meaningful progress in ways that help our chapters succeed. This is just one example. Opportunities to think bigger abound. So our strategy to combat the challenges of macro trends in the higher education environment is to think bigger, innovate, grow, add value. But we're not solely influenced by external forces, but far too often by our own internal issues as well. Accelerated by COVID, we've suffered from an organizational atrophy that's impacted everything from our chapter health to our staffing and volunteerism to our program execution. Undergraduate membership has declined by more than 27% since our peak. Active chapters by 17% and revenues by 26%. Meanwhile, our costs have continued to rise with inflation and insurance rate hikes. This matters to each one of you because without that kind of scale, it becomes hard to deliver the value that your dues deserve in return. The resources, the support, the responsiveness, and the programs. We must expect better. I expect that together we can achieve better results than we've seen in the last few years. That we can provide more educational programming that reaches a majority of our members, as is outlined in the strategic plan. To operate proactively and effectively in supporting our chapters. To fully embrace and leverage the talents of our volunteer corps. We can have clear expectations of our teams, strong fiscal responsibility and governance, and thoughtful execution. And these are not insurmountable challenges with totally unknown solutions, but they're hard work. And with the right leadership, we can achieve operational excellence. In my career, I've overseen complex operations at large growing software companies. We've earned industry-wide awards from our transformative work. I've been a player in corporate governance structures in publicly traded and privately backed companies and nonprofits. I understand what good governance looks like and how to implement it. For example, as a national counselor, I developed a new set of financial and legal protections that our fraternity recently adopted in recent months to prevent mismanagement risk in the future. I feel fortunate to have built a successful career by developing strategic vision, facilitating change, and understanding the tactics, business models, and financial resources that it takes to achieve ambitious goals. And I feel fortunate that as a student, I had the early laboratory at Phi Tau to develop my management abilities and leadership skills, just as many of you do today. In my current role as Senior Vice President of Strategy and Chief of Staff at Aprimo, I've helped transform a slow, declining company into a market leader and innovator on the forefront of AI in our field. Increasing the value of our company, the market cap or share price, so to speak, more than 600% in less than 7 years, and doubling our customer base in less than 3. That's the kind of mentality I will bring to this role. And it's not about running Phi Tau like a business, but as Jim Collins noted in Good to Great, just as there are mediocre and great companies, there are mediocre and great nonprofits, and they have a lot of similarities. And we're going to build a great fraternity. Most importantly, we have to do this as a team. Our organization can no longer function in artificial silos. If I'm elected, we'll establish common plans and coordinated goals to achieve them. While more communication and collaboration are foundational, I've also outlined several practical steps that we can take to help ourselves out. We'll form a new national steering committee with representation across all of our entities, committees, and constituent groups, expanding on the mission of the Joint Coordinating Committee. Publish an annual report with key data to enhance transparency, and ask that each leader within our organization to align their work specifically to the goals in the strategic plan and document their efforts to that effect. We've certainly got a lot to get done. I'll leave you with a short personal story. Being here this week reminds me of my first convention in 2006 during our centennial anniversary. And the lead up to it, as a then colony member at Belmont, we got a phone call from John Green, at the time the foundation executive director, but already a venerable Phi Tau legend. He had gotten word that the guys at Belmont had some musicians in their midst, and he asked us to come on stage and perform at the Centennial Brotherhood Banquet, the largest gathering of Phi Taus in our history. And we weren't even initiated brothers yet. That simple outreach and a request to serve sparked a commitment to the national fraternity among several Zeta Alpha brothers, including myself, that has only grown over time. And while John is no longer with us, I'll always remember him for his skills in expanding the tent, getting the right folks in the right seats, and making those straightforward asks for support. For Phi Kappa Tau to thrive in the coming decades, it will require all of us as an extended team playing our roles. Personally, I'd be more than honored to serve you as president, and I'd ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Lewis. Next, Brother Mike McCrum.
Hello, brothers. A lot of you don't know who I am. A lot of people have asked me yesterday and today, where did you even come from, dude? And so what I want to do right now in the next 10 minutes is I want to tell you first how it came that I am here, where I came from, why I'm here, a little bit about myself, and then I want to tell you what I think about this fraternity, what my vision is, and where I think we can go in the next couple of years. First of all, why I'm here. I want to tell the nominating committee how honored I am that you would select me and recommend me as national officer. You know, this process was very, very interesting. How it came to be was I received a call about 6 months ago. I received a call from our national president, Dale Holland. I reached out to Dale and said, Dale, is it okay if I tell the body that how this phone call made? And he says, yeah, absolutely right. Tell them that I called you about 6 months ago. And then I said, Mike, are you interested in running for national office, for VP? At that time, we weren't going to run for anybody for president because our brother Barry Mask at that time we expected would descend to the office of presidency. And we know for personal reasons he has now or since then withdrawn that. But at the time our president asked me that, I said, well, I've known you for 2 years, Dale. Through those 2 years, I had worked with him time to time on some issues that he had called me up and consulted with me on. And I said, well, I'm really honored that you would give me this call and invite me to do this. Dale told me, he said, you know what? Tell the body, not only did I make that phone call, but tell them that I've told you 2 years ago, Mike, we need you up here at this podium. This fraternity needs you. Dale had gotten to know me and my skills and my vision and my passion for Phi Tau. And so I'm very, very honored that he made that phone call. I'm very honored, as I said, that the esteemed brothers of the nominating committee didn't know me at all either. I had put in my application just as Brother Loomis had and others, and we all went and I submitted a 10-page single-space answers to all their questions about who I was, what my experience was, what my passion was, what I think I could do as a president or vice president. I answered all that. I gave them a 6-page CV. I went into the 2 interviews, just like Brother Loomis and the others, and I did the best I could. And I'm so honored that those brothers would find me to be the candidate that they would recommend for VP. And so thank you for that. I then got some calls from former national presidents, Greg Holland, who reached out to me, and others reached out to me. I've since talked to past President Bill Brash, who I'm very, very honored is I believe, supporting me. I thank these national presidents for supporting me. But let me tell you a little bit about what I think went behind that, my experience and my passion, and why I think they even considered backing me. I've had over 45 years of leadership and management experience. In the professional setting, I spent 11 years in the Department of Justice with the U.S. Attorney's Office. As I was a supervisor over federal prosecutors and assistants and staff. I did that for approximately 11 years. I served as chairman of different task forces where we worked on national and international money laundering and other type of money transactions, going down to South America through the islands, going across the pond to England, working on those types of things. I've served on several boards through the course of the last 20 years. I've been president of a legal association of hundreds of members. I've been on a board of directors of a statewide professional organization of thousands of members. I served on a board of directors at a national level where there were tens of thousands of professionals. I've had demonstrated leadership in a community setting. I was elected lay leader of my own church for several years. I was head of different men's ministries. I later studied and was granted a license and ordained to be a pastor in the United Methodist Church, and served on a volunteer basis as a pastor, and still am licensed. Over 30 years in financial analysis, 11 years with the Department of Justice, and the last 27 years supervising financial investigations with task forces made up of FBI agents, IRS, criminal investigative agents. I've served on a board of trustees for a charitable foundation where the asset base was several $1 million. I understand very well the challenges that you men who serve on the foundation face, but also the joy of doing so. And I've been privileged to do that. I have over 38 years as a licensed attorney with all the legal skills in corporate and contract and constitutional issues. I admire very much our counselor, John Hayes, who's also an attorney with that level of experience. And we've seen firsthand in the last day and a half how valuable that is to have someone with that type of expertise on the national level. Through all these decades of service, I have tried my best to serve people, to love people, and to really try to get at the essence of what's important. As a Phi Tau, I served also as president of my own chapter. Our chapter, I graduated in 1978 from Texas State University. About 10 years later, our chapter folded, and it was dormant for about 20 years when I and other alumni said, you know what, let's bring this chapter back to life. And through our work together, we were able to colonize it, and then it was rechartered in 2015, and past President Steve Nelson was there. We visited a couple times already today on how he remembers it fondly. I was, since then, I've served as a president of the Graduate Council. I've worked diligently on that chapter, and we're proud to say that last semester we had over 50 members in our chapter through the work, I think, not only of the undergraduates, but we have come together as alumni to support them and build them up. But let's put this vote in its proper perspective, because I only have a couple more minutes. You and I meet here at a very, very critical juncture in our fraternity, the life of our fraternity. I'm confident that I've got the skills and the experience and the temperament to do the job, if you would so elect me and honor me with that. This morning we heard about financial mismanagement issues, about decisions that should have been made a little bit different. If I'm elected, you can be sure that I will tackle these issues zealously, that I will take transparency to a level that this fraternity has never seen, because you deserve it. It's your money, it's your fraternity, it's your life. That's what you're devoting yourself to. And it's important to me because it's important to you.
When we hear about reports not being turned in on Old Main Holdings for 5 years, what had happened with the leadership that was allowed to occur? Those are the kind of issues that I think about. And so when you're deciding on who to elect, think about the person and what their priorities are. My priorities, and I love the fact that we have people that can come up with statistics and bar graphs and incorporate that into their vision. Brother Loomis says we got to think bigger and better. And that's what these type of analyses are. They focus on statistics, on numbers, on pushing us to get more money, more bodies, and let's get bigger. Well, guys, I'm 66 years old. And I got to tell you, I've learned a lot over the last 45 years of my adult life. And while these statistics and bar graphs and all of this, and they're important. But in my life, I've come to believe that there are things that are more important than that. And it's about brotherhood. It's about treating each other as brothers. It's about when you make a phone call, returning the phone call. It's about not talking behind each other's back, which I've seen time and time again. It's about how we treat each other, how we post on Facebook to each other. That, my brothers, is the most important thing to me. I'll tackle all the issues. I'll do all that's necessary because I know how to do that. I know how to do audits. I know how to investigate folks. I've been doing it for, 40 years. But what you'll get with me is that I'm not driven by numbers. You undergrads in here, we're your older brothers. You're our younger brothers. We are here and should be here always to serve you, to support you. And that's what I would commit to do. I will listen to you. I've already thought about that if I'm so blessed to be elected, I want to have a Zoom call with anybody in the whole country every 7 weeks where you can call in and talk to me about your issues. Where you can write emails and I'm going to return them. You can text me and I'm going to return it. Because I want to listen to you. I want to grasp really what's going on. I want to come visit your chapters. I'm not thinking priority about statistics. I'm thinking about your lives as brothers. That's who I am. You can count your vote on me. That I commit to you. And I won't let you down. You can take that to the bank. Thank you, brothers.
Thank you, Brother McCrum. Sasha, should we get a clicker count before we vote? Yeah, let's do that. Logan, let's just get a count. If you want to put up a
Brother President.
interesting poll or something.
Brother President, Board of Information, JJ Lewis, Gamma Lambda, Central Michigan University. Are we in this process going to, as we have historically, going to engage in Q&A with our candidates? Or are we heading right to voting?
I'm getting right to voting.
Brother President.
Go ahead.
JJ Lewis, Gamma Lambda, Central Michigan University. I'd like to make a motion that we allow for 20 minutes of Q&A with our two presidential candidates prior to conducting the vote.
Brother Lewis, if we got a previous motion approved yesterday to allow the chair to change the schedule, we could have. And I was not consulted on this schedule, or I would have baked it in here. So that's where we are. There's no second. Brother Hayes.
John Hayes, Old Dominion, Give It Talk. I second the motion. John Hayes, Old Dominion, Give It Talk. Choose to move the order of the day to add a 20-minute time period for question and answer.
JJ Lewis, Gamma Lambda Central Michigan University, I second the motion to change the order of the day.
For the purpose of 20 minutes of Q&A?
Correct.
Okay, again, we could have done that yesterday, and I could have had you a better format than was provided me. Okay? All right? Not debatable. All right, all those for moving the order of the day to allow 20 minutes in which I will control the format, because y'all aren't going to come with another motion. All those for creating a 20-minute Q&A forum, please raise your right hand. All those against? Motion fails. At this time, we will proceed with the vote. Logan, are you queued? Let's do a roll call vote. Just a roll call to say what the numbers are. Go ahead and open it up and click here. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? We're voting to see how many we have. Okay, let's close the vote. What's the number? 103. So it would take 52 to win? 52 to win. All right. Logan is going to prof the candidates on the screen by name, and you will vote, and then he will reveal the vote. Logan, go ahead. What do we got total? Is it like 106? 104? So as you see, we had drop-off boxes out there. More people voted here than did in the check vote. So the mail-ins are coming in. All right, Logan, close the vote, reveal the vote. Congratulations, Michael McCarthy. Chair will allow President-elect McCrum to come up and make a few accepting remarks.
From the depth of my heart, I am honored. You guys ever heard of the expression preaching to the choir? Everybody's heard that. That's what I feel right now, because you guys are the choir. Why do I say that? When you go into a church with the choir is always there, right? And they're all in, and they're devoted, and they practice.
practice and they think about it. And they go to the practices in the middle of the week, and then they go through 3 services on Sunday. They're the most devoted guys. That's what y'all are, because y'all are here. We have what, 70,000 5-tals out there, and you guys are here. That says something. I'm so proud of y'all. I'm so proud to be part of y'all. I'm so proud to be a brother of y'all. I commit to you that I will do everything in the next couple of years to listen to you, to attend to your needs in the best way possible, to let you know what's going on all the time, that you receive minutes of meetings timely, that if you're not getting reimbursements on your travel, my brother undergrads, let us know. I will be there for you as much as I can. I'm going to come visit you. I'm going to come listen to you. I'm going to seek out counsel from you gray hairs like me, because it's that important. Because brotherhood is that important. I'm going to do all I can for us to fully embrace more and more and more this concept of brotherhood. Phi. Kappa. We know what that's about. Tau. Definitely know what that's about. And I will not forget it. Not one day. And I will do everything I can, every meeting that I attend to, every conversation that I attend to, that will be the lens that I project through. I want to serve you as much as you deserve, which you deserve everything. I love this fraternity. I love you, brothers. This is not fake. This is who I am. You're going to get to know that. And so come to me, and I'll do all I can for you. I am honored. Brother Loomis, you are a good man. I want to keep working with you to the extent possible. You've got a sharp mind, brother.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Brother McCrum. That was touching, a little bit clamped, I'm trying to get out of it. All right. Thank y'all. That was a very, very orderly process, and appreciate all the impassioned speeches from both candidates. Now, we've done a lot, so we've got a few more announcements as it concerns the pool party. And Matt, do you want to tell us about that, how we're going to proceed?
All right, long day, fellas. Let's get to a pool party. All right, here's what we got going on here. 7 o'clock. It is a little after 7 o'clock now. We have 2 things that we want to accomplish at 7 o'clock. One is that we have not spoke about the warblers. And so if you are interested in being a warbler, there's a piano right over there. Can you meet over there and convene on tomorrow night? We are going to celebrate Phi Kappa Tau. And a little bit of music and a little bit of good voices can really go a long way. We actually have a couple of staff members who are giving their voices as well to try to help recruit you. So if you are interested in being a warbler, we also have a little gift for you if you manage to want to do that as well. So right over here. The other thing that we're doing is right around the corner, we're having a meeting, a brief meeting for anybody who is interested in joining the vision that Mike McCrum has and helping me at the executive office and consider working at the executive office. So if you have any interest or desire to maybe consider working for your fraternity, then we would love to chat with you for a few minutes and give you a little idea of what that looks like. So those are the two things that we have there. Well, let's get down to the real thing. Let's get to the pool party, right? Pool party is on the 6th floor. It is there is nobody else there but us. There is a lot of food out there. It's going to be in the main area. And then to the right, when you come out onto the pool deck, to the right, if you guys want to jump in the pool and cool off a little bit, relax over there by the pool, it's all of ours. It's our party. You guys got that? You ready to do that? All right. Get out of these monkey suits, right? All right. I got to have Brother Mask convene us.
Motion to recess till 10:30 in the morning. I have it. State your name, assume the position.
Before Delta Sigma Weber College, before I do that motion, I'd like to make a motion for a vote of acclamation to show our unanimous support for Brother McCrum as our new national president.
Been motion to have vote of acclamation. Is there a second?
Jordan Lowe, Beta Lambda, Indiana, second.
Thank you, Jordan. Any discussion? No. All those for, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Do we have, what purpose does the gentleman rise?
Just wanted to wish Mal and Alex Taylor a happy birthday.
All right.
Jordan Lowe, Beta Lambda, Indiana University. I moved to recess until 10:30 tomorrow morning. John Hayes, Old Dominion, Game and Todd, second.
We'll recess till 10:30 in the morning.
So we done.
Las Vegas, almost down the drain. Las Vegas, the day and the night. They tell me if you see it once, never be the same again. I'm gonna keep on the road, gonna have me some fun. It cost me my value this time. I'll always remember that has been a time. I'll give everything I've got. Let it up, please let the dice take it. And then we should say, well, every shot's a